explosion downtown. Get him back!
Some of you may have just heard or felt that explosion that was at the Alfred Murrah Federal Building. We're trying to get some more pictures coming in right now.
It looks like the center of the explosion's right here at the county courthouse.
We just had a bunch of police officers come running up to us screaming to get back, get back.
Evacuate.
Let's move everybody back.
There's just bodies laying everywhere. There's people just laying there screaming.
Cars all around the outside of the building, charred.
It's chaos here right now. The media was in a big area.
I can't believe this.
The newscast will pretty much last all day.
It's real, folks, and it's devastation on an international scale.
The bombing in Oklahoma City was an attack on innocent children and defenseless citizens.
I'm at the field hospital where they had set up a triage unit in the storage building.
The search is still going on right now for victims inside. There's potentially 900 people who may have been working inside.
On the table when the ceiling started to fall in.
And now you're looking at some of the panic that set in. Are we at a crossroads here in terrorist attack in this country when something like this can happen in Oklahoma City?
This is a horrible, horrible day in Oklahoma in American history.
Oklahoma, the Sooner State, the heartland. I call it home. I'm Marky Martin. I'm host of NewsNation's Morning in America. On April 19th, 1995, 168 lives were stolen in a deadly bombing. It is considered the worst domestic terror attack on American soil. Now, for Oklahomans, we don't just remember this dark day once a year. We live with the aftermath of the attack every single day. And NewsNation wants to do something different. You know how the story ends, but we choose to honor the victims, the first responders, the medical professionals, the journalists who call this community home. And we're focusing on their heroism and hard work that day. Over the next 2 hours, we invite you to watch as the day's chaotic events unfold in real time. NewsNation presents On Air Live, the Oklahoma City bombing 30 years later.
Explosion downtown.
Daycare to YMCA, I guess.
We got damage and injuries all up and down Broadway. Need all fire ambulances you can get. This explosion was at the Federal Building. I'm on the east side of the Federal Building. It's collapsed. In the basement of the Federal Building, there's a children's center, and we need to get the fire department officials up here as quick as we can. This one, we have got a lot of children hung over here at the YMCA also.
This is a News Channel 4 special report.
Good morning, I'm Lee Evans. Some of you may have just heard or felt that explosion that just happened just a few moments ago. That was an explosion downtown. Right now we're nailing the exact address. We believe it's in the area of 5th and Robinson. That would be Northwest 5th and Robinson. We think it may have happened at or near the federal courthouse. We have crews that are rushing down there on the way, and we will get you any information that we have as soon as possible.
Need all fire ambulances you can get.
You may have just heard or felt an explosion that went off about 10 minutes ago. That happened in downtown Oklahoma City, around somewhere in the vicinity of 5th and Robinson. Apparently there are already injured people being taken out of the federal courthouse, and we have reports that it may be an explosion that happened in a courtroom at the federal building. Broken glass, and you can, if you look outside, you can see the smoke still floating. Right now we have a reporter, the news channel Suzanne Steely is downtown right now. Suzanne, she's on the phone. We're going to go to her. Suzanne, what can you tell us?
Well, Lee, downtown is completely chaotic. There are people in the streets everywhere looking towards the federal building. There's thick black smoke in the air. There's broken glass everywhere. The explosion blew out a lot of windows in buildings downtown. So there's glass everywhere. It's a pretty dangerous situation because there's emergency vehicles trying to rush to get to the scene. We have reports at this point of multiple casualties. We have no idea how many. As you said, it's hard to tell where the explosion is right now because there's just so much thick black smoke clogging the sky. Again, I was in the police station when the explosion was felt, and we thought a plane had hit the building. The building shook so violently. Dust came down all through the building, and we believe some of the windows there may have been broken too. But again, it's just a chaotic scene downtown, people crowding the streets trying to see what's going on. The air is just filling with smoke. There's ash in the air, and again, there's glass everywhere from the buildings, from glass windows being blown out from the force of the explosion. I'm going to try and get closer, and then I'll call back in and tell you more about what's going on.
It may have happened at the Alfred Murrah Federal Building, and that there were injuries, several injuries, many people even laying out in the street. As Suzanne said, emergency vehicles are on the way down there. Also on the way down there, we have news crews, several news crews there, ready to give live reports.
Mass casualty incident at that location over a 6-block area. We're not sure what the center of the explosion was at this time. Advise as soon as possible on patient count, number of casualties, and number of units needed, please.
A disaster working right now at the Alfred Murrah Federal Building. Apparently an explosion there. Could have been a bomb. Now, we felt it here 6 miles away. It happened at about 9 o'clock. That's about 15-20 minutes ago. We felt the explosion again all the way up in northwest Oklahoma City. It's chaos and confusion there right now. Injured people struggling, trying to get their way out of the building. Now, that building holds the Social Security office and the alcohol, firearms, and tobacco office, among other things. It's the newest of 3 federal buildings in downtown Oklahoma City. Now, if you look outside, you may see a black cloud of smoke from right there. And if you look right there, we have a picture of it. We have the black cloud of smoke. You can see it all the way up here. There's broken glass from windows blown out everywhere all over downtown Oklahoma City. The FBI is on its way. Now, this shot is from the top of the Liberty Bank building, and you can see the black smoke again right there. Right now, medical personnel have set up a makeshift medical center to carry all the injured people to. People are coming out covered in blood. Reports just a few minutes ago of a couple of men walking out of the federal building with their heads wrapped in shirts to help alleviate the bleeding and the injuries that they have. We have some reporters and some crews who are down there now. They're checking out the reports. I'm just being handed another report. There's a fire right now working on the south side of the building. Again, disaster, absolute chaos right now in downtown Oklahoma City. Can we get that shot up of the black cloud of smoke that we saw from Liberty Bank? You see right there, you can see it's covering most of downtown Oklahoma City. I think that shot's kind of fading out though, but it is covering most of downtown Oklahoma City. We're not sure what happened. The FBI is also on its way down there and sending agents. Do we have some more information?
Well, it looks like the explosion was on the lower part of the building.
Okay, apparently, and thanks, Dan. Dan's just handing me this information. Apparently, it looks like the explosion was in the lower end of the building in downtown Oklahoma City. Again, the Alfred Murrah Federal Building. Right now, we have a News Channel reporter, Tara Bloom, is on the phone with us right now. Tara, I'm not sure where you are. Tell us where you are and what's going on right now that you can see.
Right now, I am just about a block away from the explosion. It is an amazing sight. Blocks around this explosion, all the windows have been blown through. The Southwestern Bell Telephone Company, almost all their windows in their building have been blown out. There's glass and debris littering the streets, literally for blocks around. Everybody is running around. I'm sort of breathless. I'm trying to get up close to the scene right now, and there are crowds of people in the street. Everybody downtown is out wondering what's going on. Obviously, all their buildings, the windows blown out, debris flying out of windows, hanging, curtains hanging, and right now I'm up on the scene. I've just gotten here, and there are people lying on the pavement everywhere. I see at least a half a dozen people. They're quickly being loaded on stretchers. Many of them, their faces are covered with blood, and they are badly injured. Some of them are only partially clothed. It is truly a devastating scene here. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Tara. Obviously, we've sent reporters, and you could hear Tara breathing hard. As soon as we heard the explosion, we sent reporters and crews right out there. We have another crew reporting to us from 6th and Harvey. I believe that is the News Channel, Suzanne Steely. Suzanne, are you there? Suzanne?
Hello, Lee. I'm not sure if you're talking to me now. I can barely hear you from all the chaos downtown. But the scene here is unbelievable. It looks just like a war zone. I'm standing looking at the building right now, the federal building where the explosion was, and all I can tell you is that part of it is blown away. Looking at the north side of the building, which I'm doing now, basically the building's gone. I mean, it's just blackened rubble. Some of the structure of the building is still intact, but where it is, I mean, basically you can just see right inside the building. There's just blackened holes where walls used to be. I'm trying to find out at this point if there's any idea how many casualties, and officials I've talked to, I'm at the command center, have no idea at this point. They just know it is an unbelievably serious situation. They believe there are a lot of people dead, a lot of people injured. They're just not sure how many at this point. There's emergency vehicles in all the streets downtown right now. The air is filled with thick black smoke. The smell of it's unbelievable. You almost can't see the building because of the smoke.
Dan has a little bit more information. Dan, what can you tell us about it?
All right, I'm going to be talking on your microphone here, but
okay.
We've been listening to scanner reports from the police department, from the fire units, and from our crews, which are on the scene right now getting set up, and the crews are describing some incredible sights. They're describing it as kind of as a war zone down there with some of the walls toppled down, some of the rubble standing as much as 2 floors high. You know, that building, Lee, is 12 stories high, and that houses a lot of the federal agencies, so there will likely be a lot of folks that were in that building. This was a time when the office workers were in place. A lot of injuries out there. They've made a makeshift kind of a MASH unit down there where they're trying to treat those that have been injured, and there's a lot of folks, a lot of blood around. There's been folks injured, not just in that building, but I guess the compression from the blast was so intense it blew out a lot of windows. You know, during tornadoes and storms and things like that, in place of high winds, usually the winds injure and kill more often than the actual tornado itself. And because of a lot of glass down there in those buildings, a lot of office workers near the glass, that's where obviously a lot of the injuries are coming from. Because of the compression of the blast, it caused a lot of broken glass, and that's causing a lot of the injuries from down there. But again, some of the crews that are down there from the news channel that are in place right now, and some of the folks that are on the scene from the fire department and the police department, are describing this as much looking like a war zone with folks injured, a lot of confusion down there, people trying to find out where they can get medical attention. Folks are seeking out medical attention as we speak, and so it's a devastation area right in that immediate vicinity. Now traffic is getting backed up from folks that are curious about what is going on down there and what's ahead for the next couple of hours.
And as a matter of fact, let me interrupt you on that right there, because we have just spoken with John Hanson of the Oklahoma City Fire Department, and he is asking that everyone please stay away for all the traffic that's backed up on its way to downtown Oklahoma City. We want to ask that you please not go there. I know it's going to be difficult. I know a lot of people have friends and family who are working in that area, and you're worried about them. But if you want to do the best for them, if you want the Oklahoma City Fire Department and Police Department and medical services to be able to do their jobs and completely and fully as possible, then you've got to stay out of the area, because they need lots of space and lots of room so that those people can get all the medical attention that they need and deserve so much right now. There are people who are bleeding and who are injured everywhere for blocks, just laying out on the street. Right now, we're going to go ahead and get another report from one of our crews down there live. This is Tara Bloom, who's reporting from about a block away from where the explosion happened. Tara, what can you tell us now?
Well, Lee, I have just made it up to the building that exploded, the Alfred Murrah Federal Building. It is an amazing sight. It's a 6-story building, and one half of the building is sheared away, the entire side. You can see debris and pieces of the construction hanging down the entire 6 stories. It's as if somebody came and sheared off an entire half of the building. Below it in the parking lot, all the cars are damaged and they are smoking. Now, what is really devastating is in an entire block surrounding this building, we are seeing injured people everywhere. Literally dozens of people that are bleeding. Some of them you can't even make them out. They are so badly injured, and ambulance crews are just working as fast and furious as they can, trying to get to these people and put them on stretchers and get them to the hospital. They are just working as fast as they can. We've seen a number of small children being carried, bleeding heavily from the face. Everywhere you look, the buildings have been destroyed. The Journal Record building across the street, many of these, every window is gone, and there is debris hanging out of the windows. It is really a chaotic situation. Many people are running around trying to find friends and co-workers. The streets are filled with people, and the streets are just filled with debris, literally covered with tree branches, as many of the trees have been ripped and torn apart. But once again, the Alfred Murrah Federal Building is where this explosion occurred, and that building is devastated. Certainly, people that were in the rooms on that one side of the building, it would be unlikely they could survive, because it is just a mess of hanging rods, glass, everything. It's A huge bomb went off on that side of the building. That's exactly what it looks like.
We've got a live shot out in downtown Oklahoma City, and you can see the smoke obviously everywhere in downtown Oklahoma City, just covering absolutely smoggish looking. To some video that we have down there. If you take a look, you can see where the explosion happened. You can see the huge cloud of black smoke covering downtown Oklahoma City. That is a live crew that was riding through right then. This is unedited video from downtown Oklahoma City. Garages, explosions, blew out windows for miles, people walking away from the scene. Those two fortunate right there, and some of the people walking around fortunate, but you can see that some were injured. A lot of chaos and confusion obviously in downtown Oklahoma City. A lot of people walking out of the downtown buildings who don't know what happened. Let's listen a little bit.
Explosion.
Okay, obviously people are in shock in downtown Oklahoma City. They are walking out of their downtown buildings, their places of work, where they are down there, and trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Now, we've heard a couple of different reports. We've heard everything from a bomb in the federal building to a gas main explosion. We are not sure which one. We have video of some wounded people, some people being carried away, probably in every vehicle that's possible, not just medical emergency vehicles, but police cars. I'm sure people are being carried away in fire department vehicles, and a lot of people are driving themselves to local hospitals, as Randy Sachs just told us. You can see some people working in downtown Oklahoma City. Look at that, just absolutely covered in blood. Obviously a disaster in downtown Oklahoma City, a very chaotic situation right now. And as some of our reporters described earlier, and as you could see right there, it looks like, unfortunately and very sadly, it looks like a war zone. One of the things that's good that you see is a lot of Oklahoma Cityans jumping in and pitching to help each other out. People walking around with less injuries, pitching right in to help those who were not so fortunate, who were a little more injured. Right there we have an ambulance that is getting ready to cart people away to a local hospital, and a lot of hospitals already getting some people who have been injured. And you can see some Red Cross volunteers down there already treating people, and some Red Cross workers down there treating people. Look at the traffic down there. One thing that we want to say is you've got to please not walk or not drive down to downtown Oklahoma City right now.
Murphy! Murphy! This is one of the critical.
Right now, we're about to get a live report from the News Channel's Tara Bloom.
You can see just how badly damaged it is.
Something the police want to emphasize is this area is still very dangerous.
Right there by that window.
Okay. Give us a chance to sort this out, okay? We'll do all we can. I'm sorry, you can't go beyond the
I don't care. Eric, wait, where is it?
Right there.
Let me say that, as always, it's good to have Prime Minister Chiller back in Washington. I welcome her here. Turkey is a valued and important ally of the United States. The biggest threat to human rights is the reaction caused by terrorism everywhere. That is something we have to be sensitive to, whether it's a car bomb blowing up in the Middle East or a religious fanatic taking a vial of sarin into the subway in Japan. All these things threaten the fabric of human rights.
Thank you.
We will be transporting, sir. We have one infant on board, one critical infant.
For our viewers who may have just joined us, let's go ahead and recap what happened. There was an explosion. It happened about an hour ago, as you said earlier. Happened at about 9 o'clock. You may have felt it at about 9 o'clock. It was at the Alfred Murrah Federal Building in downtown Oklahoma City. Right now, we're about to get a live report from the News Channel's Tara Bloom. Tara, what can you tell us?
Well, Leah, just take a look for yourself. There's the Alfred Murrah Federal Building behind me, and you can see just how badly damaged it is. It's about half of the building that is literally hanging. And at the bottom 2 floors are just stacked debris. Now, there are several other buildings right around to give you an idea of what kind of impact this had. Look at the Regency Towers there. Almost all the windows have been blown out of that hotel complex there. Several block area, it's complete devastation. Windows blown out of all the buildings. Some of these older brick buildings, the brick walls have collapsed. And they're still taking away dozens of casualties of this explosion. In fact, they've been running out of ambulances. We've been seeing some of the people loaded on the backs of pickup trucks to be taken to the hospital. They're just really having a hard time getting everybody out of here. Right now, Suzanne Steely has the information that police have for you that are watching this.
Something the police want to emphasize is this area is still very dangerous. There's been gas mains ruptured with this bomb explosion. So there's a possibility right now of a secondary explosion. The police are asking us over and over again to emphasize that. They want to keep people out of this area because, as you can see, the building is very unstable. At this point, they don't know how many casualties inside, but obviously just from looking at the building, you can see a lot. But there's a lot of danger of secondary explosion here. A bunch of gas main lines were ruptured when they believe it was a bomb when the bomb went off. And there's danger of those exploding. And also, again, there's so much damage to buildings surrounding the federal building that if you get in the wrong place, you could end up getting seriously hurt. There's glass all over the streets here. I've been walking around the streets. There's glass everywhere. There's a lot of danger just from getting cut when you're walking around. And again, the danger of buildings falling. Now, there are injured people all over the street right now. There's emergency vehicles everywhere downtown, people being treated. Also, there's a daycare center inside the building that exploded.
Now, Suzanne Steely just passed on some very important information to us just a moment ago. Apparently, there's a daycare center that is also housed in that building.
I'm going to see my daughter heavy. This is just ridiculous. I mean, I can't believe this.
Now, speaking of the injured, we have Kent Ogle, the news channel's Kent Ogle, with us from University Hospital. Kent, what can you tell us from there?
Lee, down here at University, things are just absolutely crazy. I heard the word triage used. Well, that's what the emergency room here looks like, some sort of a triage from a battlefront. They have so many people coming and going right now. I'm up in the administration looking out from a window where they have the media gathering here. They kind of have a bunker mentality here, and I can understand it's trying to keep people away from the emergency room. But from where I'm standing, I can see an ambulance unloading right now over at Children's Trauma Center. I have seen myself a man coming out of the hospital here. He had his head stitched up. A small child was also coming out who had obviously been cut by the glass. So far, that's what we're hearing. Most of the injuries are from the glass that flew when the explosion happened, either inside or outside of the building where the injuries took place. Also, when I was coming in, there was a gang of about 7 or 8 medical technicians. They came to volunteer. They were from OU Medical School, and apparently all the different teams from the Oklahoma Health Sciences Center around here are gathering in the emergency rooms and taking in these ambulances as fast as they can, because they're basically lining up at the door right now. All you can hear outside are sirens, and they are in what they call a code black here at University Hospital. That is a disaster mode.
That was Ken Ogle, who's at University Hospital right now. And we've heard reports from the University Hospital, from St. Anthony's Hospital, from Baptist Medical Center. It's looking like it may be into the hundreds of injuries right now.
That's
Dan.
right, and they're still asking for emergency personnel if it's possible for you to report into your hospital, because many area hospitals will be filled up with those that are injured.
Now, what you're looking at right now is some unedited video, and you see the building right there. That's the Alfred Murrah Federal Building, and it's absolutely demolished. You can see one of the walls was just completely blown away. A whole side of the building completely blown away and gone. You can see a little bit of the smoke left over from the explosion, and apparently some small explosions also happened as a result. The cause of the explosion, we're not sure yet. We've heard several reports. We've heard bomb threats. We've also heard that it might be a gas main explosion. So we're still getting reports from the fire department and the police department. Right now, though, they're not concentrating on the cause. They're concentrating on getting those small fires that happened as a result being put out. And they're also concentrating on helping the many hundreds of people, it seems like, who have been injured, and they have been taken to hospitals. Look at that, windows blown out, offices completely demolished, a complete disaster right now in downtown Oklahoma City. You can describe it as a war zone. Dan earlier said it looked like a video out of Beirut, and it does.
Reporting another bomb.
I think he said another bomb.
Another bomb, move back.
Oh my God, another bomb. Dan, you're just hearing something else.
They are making now, they're expanding the area that they have partitioned off, roped off. They're expanding that. Many of the media are being asked to move and tear down the trucks and move them further away. So obviously they are anticipating or concerned about either a follow-up explosion or perhaps another building exploding in downtown Oklahoma City.
Yeah, we're getting some new information right now. People are running through the streets, leaving the entire area. Apparently there is the threat of another bomb or another explosion.
If you are just joining us, you are not watching some scene of international catastrophe. You are looking at your own backyard. Downtown Oklahoma City is in flames and smoke right now. The Alfred Murrah Federal Building exploded at about 9 o'clock this morning. The injuries are numerous. We have not received any confirmations yet of any loss of life. However, we would certainly have to believe that some people have lost their lives in this catastrophe. Let's go to Anthony Foster, who's joining us on the phone from downtown. Anthony?
Yeah, I am at Harrison Street, about 3 blocks east of the Murrah Building, where just about 10 minutes ago there was a rush of people, including FBI, ATF agents, and several victims, told to get out, and then they were thinking that there was a possibility they had found another bomb. Photographer Brad Regan and I started running with the rush because there were so many people about to trample over us. There were at least 100 people rushing down Harrison Street.
Right now we're going to go to Suzanne Steely, who's in downtown Oklahoma City for a live report. Suzanne?
Well, Lee, I'm at 10th and Harvey, and this is the place we've been told to move back to you. As you can see, there's just a steady stream of cars and people being told to move back from the scene because, as we told you before, at this point authorities think they have found 2 more bombs inside the Murrah Federal Building. They are trying to detonate those at this time. Of course, until they do, it's an incredibly dangerous situation with the condition of that building right now. If another bomb goes off, it's just going to come down completely. And as we saw from the force of the last blast, anyone who's downtown is in terrible danger.
I got a daughter who works down here.
Oh, my God.
She's a federal parole officer.
You have a daughter in there that might be there?
Yeah, I haven't heard nothing from her. I just got down here. I'm trying to find out, but they're running every.
And there you see a woman who was very badly hurt, obviously, in the face.
It gives you an idea of the fear and the panic that is setting in, understandably so, after the first major explosion and then word of possibly another one.
It sounded like just one big boom, really loud. Then there was so much noise from everything falling in, though, you couldn't hear anything else.
Let's take a look at some pictures that we've just received. I believe these are of a gentleman who was walking around downtown after the blast had occurred, as so many others in a complete state of near stupor, dazed at what could have possibly happened. But let's listen in.
Your radio? I feel better now. Okay, well, let's sit down and we'll let him check you out. Let's check you out, okay? There's nothing wrong with me. And then we'll help you. You got a radio there? It's a good place to sit.
And there you see some aftermath of what it does to people who were fortunate enough to walk out. It leaves you totally dazed, fearful, wondering what's going to happen next.
And then the floor from above went down, and it just kept falling. It was a horrible noise, horrible noise.
What did it sound like?
I don't know. I didn't hear I didn't hear a noise. It was just after what had happened, whatever happened, just the roar of the whole building crumbling. And where I was sitting, it's the only place the floor didn't cave in. I mean, right over here, the floor was gone. And I was on the 7th floor, and then, of course, the 8th floor came down and went through, and then they just kept on going down. Listen, there was a window to a hall by my desk, and I crawled over it and got out. I saw a lot of people very badly hurt.
Did you see anybody else getting out?
Yeah, there were. People were just getting out covered with blood and just stunned. I mean, it was just shock.
Get out!
I think he said another bomb.
Another bomb, move back!
Oh my God, another bomb.
Reporting another bomb.
Let's keep going.
Just about to hit the intersection there, saying that bomb.
You're looking at video from the scene just as the evacuation began, when word came of a second explosive device in downtown Oklahoma City, Devin. And you can see people not really knowing what to do except get away from that place when they hear of another bomb in the area. You just saw our reporter Tara Bloom there.
And you saw the look on the face of the woman who had been recounting her story to believe that there might be another explosive there.
Crazy.
You want to come with us?
Three that came out of the building. Let's keep these three together so we'll know which ones are the injured that will run out. We'll have their names.
I went under the table when the ceiling started to fall in. And that's what saved me, I guess. Except the floor is still where I was. And the young lady and this gentleman were the only ones on our side of the building.
Got out from under the desk and there just wasn't any building left around us.
Really?
So our whole office area is gone.
So if you weren't under that desk, you wouldn't have made it?
Well, my floor was okay, and the ceiling had come down, but there was still concrete above, so it was just a corner of the office that was left that we were in. Everybody else that we worked with is gone.
Are you okay? Just the corner of your office was okay? And the rest of the floor was completely flattened?
And we go over the edge and look, and you can see the sky and as far down as you can look. And just a hole.
Obviously, it was a bomb. It was a car bomb, very large device. Why we can't imagine, but there's a lot of injury and there's a lot of death, and we've got to get the people out. There's still a lot of people in the building that until we find out for sure, they're moving back and forth on whether there's any more bombs out there right now. As soon as they get that done, then they'll be back in. But the fire department is headed back in.
And how large of a crater did it blow?
About 8 foot deep in the street. It melted a couple of cars together.
You just heard it. It's absolutely amazing. An 8-foot crater blown in the cement beneath that car. The car completely obliterated. 2 cars melting together.
The heat generated, to think of 2 cars actually melting together, as Mayor Norrick just put it, is really more than just about any of us can fathom.
Well, like we said, we all heard it, we all felt it, and knew something bad had happened, but I don't think any of us had any idea at the time the dimension of this catastrophe.
It's just indescribable inside. There's some points where you literally just cannot move and you have to dig your way through walls, through concrete to try and find survivors. They think at this point there are still some survivors in there. They can hear some cries, but unfortunately there are fewer cries than there were before.
We're hearing that it's very unstable in there. They are actually having to step over and crawl through so many dead bodies to get at those survivors left.
All of a sudden everything just crashed, and I mean it was really hell. I mean, it just went everywhere.
The federal building was the epicenter here.
The partition and the ceiling started falling. Glass was shattering everywhere. It was real terrible.
What the word came from some of the staff coming down was that they were having to amputate in order to remove some of those folks because the damage was so extreme. And the best way to get them out under the circumstances was to amputate.
Right before we left, they were amputating a woman's leg to try and get her out.
Yeah, they were calling for trauma dressings, and they were
bandages
to control the bleeding, I guess, after they amputated her leg to get her out.
3 FBI anti-terrorist teams are en route to Oklahoma City. Right now, they are saying that this is the work of a sophisticated group. This is a very sophisticated device.
Let's go down to UZ Brown, Washington, downtown. UZ?
Okay, Devin, we've got a shot right now. Hopefully you can see what's taking place in the what's left of that building there. We can see emergency workers, firefighters, we assume, up on a ladder going inside, and as you said, they're going through what is a horrible task to face right now, trying to find survivors. Unfortunately, oftentimes they're finding people who did not survive. We understand that they're sending the crews in shifts, actually, half-an-hour intervals, because what they're finding inside is just so horrible they cannot handle it. And that's it's unbelievable what we're seeing down here. Again, the shot you see right now, emergency crews elevated on the ladder, going in, digging through the rubbles, hoping to find survivors. Unfortunately, a lot of times they are not coming out with that. A lot of people out here working very hard. Again, the task they face before them is very grim. Again, we mentioned they're sending emergency crews in half-hour intervals because what they're finding inside, your mind cannot imagine. So they don't want them to be overloaded and burned out because they need all the hands here that they can get.
Right now, we need to go to Jana Davis. She is live with John Hanson of the fire department. Jana, take it away.
Well, we think now that there's potentially 900 people who may have been working inside the federal building. We don't know how many victims, how many may have been injured, how many have died. But right now, joining me now is Assistant Fire Chief John Hanson. Tell me about the rescue efforts at this point.
Well, Jana, it's going very, very slow. We have to because there's still an imminent danger of building collapse
And it's also very frustrating for us because our folks want to be in there and doing things. We are in there. We're talking to victims through void spaces. People are crying out to us. We're reassuring them the best we can. We've got hydraulic tools. We've got some of the dogs in. We've got some listening devices in. And again, it's very, very slow. We're able to reach through cracks and hold people's hands and reassure them as best we can. But getting to them is going to take a long time. You see firefighters coming out of the building with tears in their eyes, you know, dealing with hearing people they can't get to, but we're making those efforts and we're going to do the very best we can.
We were told that there was a nursery on the second floor.
Yes,
are we still retrieving children, or are they out now and accounted for?
No, we're still in the process of working that floor like we are the rest. There are still some areas where there may be some children trapped.
I'm at Northeast 5th and Harrison, and this is going to be the triage center. Right now you can see all the medical personnel that have been gathering. They are pulling in stretchers right now, Army stretchers. We've seen them taking in generators, bags of ice, boxes of water. A lot of off-duty medical personnel have shown up here, and it is ambulances from surrounding areas. You can see down the street the mass of people. We've been watching them come this way. There have been a lot of ambulances coming from outside areas, and they are here just waiting to go down there and get the other victims in this bombing.
Well, you know, nobody tells the story better than the people who lived through it. We're going to roll a menagerie now of different sound from people who lived through this horrifying experience.
I heard it from my office, and I just saw smoke coming from the direction of the wire, so I ran up, and I don't know what happened to me. I just saw, you know, people bleeding all over the place and all the kids, so I just grabbed them and went back to work, and she brought me up here.
By the elevators, and all of a sudden heard a big boom, and everything went black, and things were falling in on us, and dust, and couldn't hardly breathe. Everything was just debris and rubble.
Head injuries, broken legs, scrapes, bruises, glass, broken glass in the skin, stuff like that. There's, just name it, it was there.
Within minutes after the deadly bombing of the Federal Building, the FBI is desperately searching for suspects. Little do they know that 27-year-old Timothy McVeigh is already in custody, pulled over on a routine traffic stop in Perry, Oklahoma, within 2 hours of the bombing.
It's just absolutely through an act of God that he was still here today.
Within minutes after the deadly bombing of the Federal Building, the FBI is desperately searching for suspects. Little do they know that 27-year-old Timothy McVeigh is already in custody, pulled over on a routine traffic stop in Perry, Oklahoma, within 2 hours of the bombing. Trooper Charlie Hanger arrests McVeigh for not having a license tag and for carrying a concealed weapon. But it isn't until 2 days later that the FBI realizes that McVeigh matches their composite drawing, and he's already in jail.
McVeigh's Michigan neighbors describe him as militant. He often drove his car around town loaded with guns and ammunition for sale. McVeigh's arrest was astonishing. He was stopped by highway trooper Charlie Hanger less than 2 hours after the explosion for not having a license on his Mercury Marquis, and he was also carrying a concealed weapon. But it wasn't until Friday that the FBI realized McVeigh was their man.
I was just as overwhelmed as everyone else that found out about it. I don't feel like a hero. I just did my job. Troopers out there on the road every day and other law enforcement officers that do the same thing. I'm no different than they are.
Hanger feels a little embarrassed by all the attention. He's been congratulated by everyone from President Clinton to the people he stops on the highway.
All of them thank me.
Did you give anyone a ticket?
I don't remember.
Hanger's a hero in everyone's eyes but his own.
Terry Nichols turned himself into authorities in Harrington, Kansas Friday and was recently transferred from the county jail in nearby Abilene. And the same goes for Terry Nichols' brother, James. He's in custody, and agents continue their search of his Decker, Michigan farmhouse and surrounding property. Court documents released after McVeigh's arraignment reveal the explosives used in the bombing were contained in a Ryder rental truck, and the truck was traced by the vehicle's identification number to a body shop in Junction City, Kansas. Workers there provided the FBI with the description for the suspect's sketches. The FBI later interviewed 3 witnesses who were near the scene of the explosion. All remember seeing Tim McVeigh in front of the Alfred Murrah Building shortly before the blast. Documents also include comments by a former co-worker of McVeigh's. He describes McVeigh as a military veteran with extreme right-wing views. He remembers McVeigh being extremely agitated about the death of Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas, and says McVeigh traveled to Mount Carmel to visit the site.
Now, the police just held a mini press conference here. They said basically that there are still people inside.
If they find anybody else, I'll be really shocked.
If you're just joining us and cannot imagine what it is you were looking at, that is the Alfred Murrah Federal Building in downtown Oklahoma City, where about 9 o'clock this morning an explosion cut away half the building, as you can see.
That gives us our most dramatic view so far of what has happened. You can get a perspective of how big that blast was. Just took out a chunk of the building, actually, and considerable loss of life, according to Governor Keating.
Kevin and Devin, we're standing on a rooftop about 6 blocks away from where the explosion happened. We wanted to give you the only view that we're able to get at this point. Steve's going to take the camera in closer and show you what's going on, and there you can see the picture for yourself. The shell of a building that remains. I heard you guys talking earlier, and this does not look like it happens in Oklahoma, in this country. There you can see a lot of workers. They've cleared out practically every worker downtown at this point. And I also heard you all allude to the reason why earlier. They were concerned that there may have been 2 other bombs in the area, and they were moving people back as fast as they could, and they pushed us back another 4 blocks, so that's how we ended up here. Again, there's a lot of confusion still going on down here. People milling around. People are still looking for other people that they thought maybe were down here because they couldn't get through on the phone lines. It is total chaos down here, as you might imagine. A lot of emergency workers, and there have been some horrible situations in some sites. Jana Davis is joining me now. You talked with an emergency worker earlier.
Yes, I did. It was a gut-wrenching interview. When the report came in that there was another bomb in the federal building, they all had to evacuate. And when they left, they had to leave behind screaming people, begging them to stay and to help them and rescue them. Let's take a look at that interview.
Right now, we can't do any rescue efforts. Everybody's got to be pulled back.
Tell me about it previously. Before you heard about the bombs, tell me about the scene.
Chaos. People were everywhere, needed attention. There's not enough of us to go around.
Did you see a lot of fatal injuries? Did you see a lot of dead people?
They're there.
Tell me about what happened when you heard about the bombs.
Just everybody, they just ordered everybody back, and everybody grabbed their equipment and pulled back.
Tell me about the injured that you had to leave behind. What were they saying? What were they doing?
They didn't want us to leave. We had to leave them.
They had to walk away because they thought more bombs were in there.
Oh, you could see the tears in his eyes. He was speechless. After I kept asking those questions, he had to just stop, pause, and he could say no more. And I think that speaks 1,000 words for the devastation, what's going on in that building. I was witnessing them pulling people out from underneath that rubble. Most of the victims coming out, going down that ramp, were able to walk. A lot of them afterwards were placed on gurneys, and it was just devastating to see the expression on these EMSA workers' faces. They're unable to estimate how many people inside there may not have survived. We're also hearing reports from witnesses inside that building. They survived because they would dive under desks, but those that didn't think fast enough or couldn't get to shelter fast enough, it's unfortunate. We have an untold number of victims at this time, and there's unconfirmed reports. Everybody's shrugging their shoulders, asking, is this really America? Is this really happening in the heart of Oklahoma City, a devastating place? As we were coming in earlier, about 6 blocks away, it was so surreal. It looked like a war zone. I felt like I was in video from the Middle East. We were running down the streets, and there were people walking around, dazed, scratching their heads, saying, what has happened?
And we got the same impression when we drove in. As far as 3 blocks over, 5 blocks over, west of here, you can see buildings where windows are blown out. People are over there makeshift now, putting in things, trying to secure their buildings. Again, hundreds of people milling around down here. They don't know what to do. Some of them, as Jana mentioned, are just in shock. They don't know whether to go home. They don't know. They just can't absorb what happened here. Again, Steve, go in tight on that building. Again, we want to show you what remains downtown. Basically, you see a lot of people down there. Those are emergency crews. There are still people in some of those buildings. They're going through the rubble. As Jana mentioned, when she talked to that emergency official, they had to leave people. They thought there were 2 other devices in there. They moved the media, they moved emergency people. Everyone had to clear. And that sounds like a heartless thing, but considering the damage that this one bomb did, they could not take the risk of having 2 or 3 more go off. and not know how many other people could be injured.
Yuzi, you were mentioning the damage. We have fire captains and fire officials running down the streets trying to warn people these buildings are unsafe. The percussion and the force of that blast has blown these walls out, but they're shaky. And at this point, if anything were to blow, we don't know what the untold devastation would be. And also, stay away from those buildings, walking down the street, because you don't know what could happen next.
Let's go down now to Suzanne Steele. Suzanne?
Devin, I got out of Chopper 4 just a few minutes ago and got really the first aerial look at this building. Of course, from this side, you can see the scope of the devastation, but you can't really see how much of the building is affected. Well, from the air, I could see that practically a third of it is blown away, and that the worst of the damage is on the east side, where there's a little pocket where it seems like the force of the explosion hit, and half the building there is gone. When you look at the building, as we've heard from so many people who've been in there, basically some of the floors have just crashed together. I mean, there are some points where you just literally can't get in at all. And then from Chopper 4, at some particular points, we could see all the way through the building. That's the force of the explosion. It just blew out all the walls and everything inside. Now, before I went up in Chopper 4, I talked to a firefighter. You'll remember that all of us were moved back several hours ago because they thought that there were those other explosives in the building. Firefighter said he had just reached a woman, was talking to her a little bit, and was trying to get her help, and then was moved back from the building. He said that's the hardest thing he's ever done in his life, was have to walk away from someone who desperately needed his help and was waiting for his help, and he said, sorry, I've got to go, I'm being moved back. He said that absolutely broke his heart. But again, we know the rescue has resumed. There are a lot of people going through here desperately trying to get these people out, and again, all the prayers here are that the people they pull out will be alive.
Let's go back down close to the scene. Tara Bloom is standing by live. Tara?
Brad Reagan, we haven't been able to get down to ground zero for a while, right where it happened. But Brad, you were able to get down there a few minutes ago. Tell me how you did that.
I rode in with an emergency medical worker without my camera to try to just see what I could see to get down there. When I did get down there, it was unbelievable. It was the first time I'd actually seen the damage. The closest I'd ever gotten was about probably 2 blocks away, but I was at ground zero. There were a lot of federal agents. There were dogs searching for either survivors or for bombs. The medical worker that I rode in with was telling me a story. He drove by the building a little earlier today. He looked into the side of one of the buildings and actually saw a man still sitting at his desk like he was working, but he was dead with the phone in his hand.
Now, the police just held a mini press conference here. They said basically that there are still people inside. They're not sure at this point whether some of them may be alive or not, but they have not yet cleared a single floor. The search is still going on right now for victims inside. It is such a difficult time for the people who are working with that search right now, the people inside and the ones waiting outside to help the injured. In fact, I just talked to a man by the name of Gary Jenkins a few minutes ago. He is a volunteer who's been working on the south side of the building, helping in the makeshift morgue and also helping some of the people who've been coming out who've been injured. He said he's seen absolutely every kind of injury imaginable. It's the most horrific thing he's ever seen in his life. He said it's really indescribable, but he said it's the most horrible thing you can imagine to work there. Let's take a look at some more of his comments right now. You've been working the morgue area.
Yes, ma'am.
Give me an idea thus far what you've seen.
It's horrific. So I don't understand how anybody in this world could conceive to do something like that to innocent people. It's I don't never want to look at anything like that again in my life. I really don't. It's absolutely horrific up there.
Have you been inside the building?
We've been up to the back, to the south end of the building, up to the area where they're doing the first triage and where they're bringing the victims out.
Can you describe a little bit more for me? What kind of injuries are you seeing?
Every injury conceivable. Head wounds, leg wounds, minor injuries.
Are the majority of people being brought out alive or no?
Everything's moving so fast-paced up there. You can't get a count on anything. You just do what you can and move on. But they've moved us all out of that area.
And again, you were just hearing from a man who volunteered his time to just come by and try and help. The one positive in this tragedy is that people are working tirelessly to try and save people who are still inside. But as he said, it's inconceivable that anyone could do this. We also talked a few minutes ago with some of the police officers who've been in actually going through the search, and they said that it's just indescribable inside. There's some points where you literally just cannot move, and you have to dig your way through walls, through concrete to try and find survivors. They think at this point there are still some survivors firefighters in there. They can hear some cries, but unfortunately there are fewer cries than there were before.
Uzi Brown, Washington, been updating us all day from down there as well. Let's go to Uzi right now.
Kevin, at this point, you can see it is raining down pretty hard right now. Emergency crews handed out raincoats to everyone on hand, trying to get people prepared to keep working in this because they've got a long, tough job ahead of them still. Behind me, there's a little bit of activity. A lot of people cleared out because of all this rain coming down. But on the other side of some of those vehicles, there are a lot of people still working very hard. They're still trying to get into the buildings. Of course, the rain only makes it even more complicated, something they did not need. It's going to weaken that building, and I understand that was some of the concern here today. Not only were they concerned about other devices being in those buildings, but they were also concerned about buildings that were no longer structurally sound, buildings that had been rocked and shaked and rattled by that horrendous explosion. So that was also some safety concerns there. Talked with someone who's on the police department, my husband, who was downtown, and that was one of my immediate concerns, that he may have been somewhere in that vicinity. He went in that building and he said he helped pull out 4 people. 2 of them were children. He said everyone he helped pull out was alive. And I mentioned that because he would not have noticed one woman had she not been screaming at the top of her lungs. He said they would have walked right past her. Again, a lot of people, emergency crews working very hard, people who are used to seeing things, some disaster. Nobody could be prepared for anything like this. It is just appalling what we're seeing. It shakes the very core of your soul. And of course, everyone has one question reverberating in their head: why? That is a question that even if you find out who's responsible, you can never actually satisfy anyone with that question. Again, the rain is coming down pretty good out here right now. Jeff Lazarlier is just walking up. Have you found some more information?
Well, I just spoke to one of the officers from Oklahoma City, and she mentioned that she had just gone over to the triage area, and they're not working on anyone alive over there right now. So the situation is still just very, very grim.
About to talk to someone who was in the building this morning when that explosion occurred. Hi, Mr. V.Z. Lawton?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thanks so much for joining us. Are these the clothes you had on this morning when you were inside the building?
Yes, ma'am.
You work where?
Department of Housing and Urban Development.
And tell me what happened. You went into work and what happened?
Well, I was sitting there signing my name to some papers at about around 9 o'clock, and all of a sudden everything just started coming down around me. And I thought, Jesus Christ, what's going on? I tried to dive under my desk, but I couldn't find it because the lights had gone out, and there was all kinds of dirt and smoke and debris flying around. And I just stayed there with my head down like this for I don't know how long, a couple of minutes maybe, and then things weren't falling down as bad as they had been. So I looked up and saw I was still alive, and I looked out to the north, and there wasn't anything there, just wide open. I was about 8 feet this side of the where it fell off. My desk just happened to be in the right spot. And then I heard the lady back behind me screaming or hollering for help. Said she couldn't see, and somebody help her. And so I went back over there and pulled her up, and I could see why she couldn't see. She had blood just covered her face. And she said, "Don't leave me." She said, "I can't see anything." And I said, "Ruthie, I won't leave you." And
I understand. Take your time.
I pulled her up over the desk and told her, I said, "Ruth, just stand here until I can try to get us a path cleared out here." There's ceiling tile, walls blown in, sheetrock, filing cabinets blown over. Just everything that was up there was just scattered. I don't know of anybody else on our floor at the east end that got out. And I don't know where they are.
I'm at the field hospital where they had set up a triage unit in the storage building, but they're breaking it down now because there simply isn't anybody left to treat.
You mentioned that what we've seen on TV compared to what you saw, what is there a comparison?
It's pretty graphic. It's pretty graphic.
This isn't real. It just felt like, to me, it felt like the end of the world. I couldn't believe it was so close to us.
Right now you have to wonder if there are enough prayers left for this deluge of children today who need so much help and so much care and concern and love.
2 different triage teams. We raced around the other side of the building in time to catch 2 children and 1 adult, and there was basically nothing we could do for them. They were gone.
Dr. Spangler is with us, emergency room doctor, and the thing that cuts so deep here is the injury to children, like we just saw, the death involving children. You were involved in that today, and it was on an immense scale, I would imagine.
Right. When we were triaging them out on the south side, we triaged 12 confirmed dead children that were taken across the street to a makeshift morgue.
How do you deal with that as medical personnel? Do you just put your mind on automatic and go? And it just seems like that would just stop you in your tracks.
Well, I think for the medical personnel, we're kind of used to going into overdrive and working with this. I tell you who's going to be really hurt by this situation psychologically is going to be the firemen and the police officers that were carrying out these children. Some of them were so upset they couldn't look down at the children they were carrying when we were tagging them as dead at the scene.
And same question for Robert Williamson. Nurse Williamson, what are your own personal reflections on all the awful things you've seen today?
It's definitely a heart-wrenching kind of thing to see and take part in, but like Dr. Spangler said, you sort of just, go into overdrive.
This is one of the critical.
Let's listen in now with a Southwest Medical Center doctor who we spoke with just a few moments ago, and then after the doctor makes his comments, we'll be hearing from a father who sadly, like some other parents this afternoon, is still looking for his child.
We've had glass fragment shard injuries, some blast injuries. We had one small child that had a severe blast injury that had some open wounds that had to be cleaned up in surgery. She's stable and been reunited with her parents and is doing fine right now.
I'm worried to death. I'm happy Rebecca's fine, but I'm scared to death. It's my little boy. Scary. Can't understand. I hold no grudges against anybody, but I can't understand why somebody would want to do something like this. It doesn't make any sense. Innocent people just trying to do their job. Your kids playing in a daycare. It doesn't make any sense.
Now let's go, if we could, to Galen Culver, who I believe is joining us on the phone from Southwest Medical Center. Galen?
Yeah, they have gone off what they call Code Black here, which is basically meant that everyone in the hospital had some sort of emergency procedures that they had planned out. They have gone off that code, and the people who are here, many of them from the scene, have been released. Several of them are still here. A few of them still in surgery. The rest of the people, most of them were treated for cuts. A few were treated for some of them whom were in the building. 5 of them, as a matter of fact, had more serious injuries. 36 was the number that were treated in all. Most of those have been released, and as I said earlier, they are expecting a second wave of patients, but not nearly as many as they had earlier expected, and so they have gone off their code. That can be construed as maybe good news or bad news. They've, considering the magnitude of the tragedy, that they have gone off code and they're not expecting as many casualties as they once were.
All right, Galen, thanks. I think that under other circumstances we would see a scaling down as some kind of good news, but from most of what we've been able to discern, the reason for the scale back is that, well, in the words of one nurse, there isn't anybody to save right now.
Steve Bailey's with the American Red Cross. Nobody knows what it feels like to be down here dealing with this more than he does. Steve, you are actually carrying some of the young victims out. Tell us about that.
Well, a lot of the victims are already found and already covered. You don't have to see them. You don't have to look at them. You just carry them and get them out of there. And there was times where we would have to go up to other floors and pick up the victims. You feel the floor shaking underneath you. I've never felt anything so devastating in my life, and to look back on this is still very devastating. The children are the hardest. They're the very hardest, and or a pregnant mother, anything like that. It's got to be the very hardest one.
You actually carried out a young victim, a fatality, and was so badly hurt you could not tell if it was a boy or a girl. Is that correct?
I couldn't tell whether it was a male or a female.
Now, you were telling me earlier that you somewhat have to condition yourself for this, but when you're dealing with the very young victims, I mean, it hits you.
Oh yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard. I mean, it's gut-wrenching. I don't know if anybody's really been in real serious tragic situation where they were just witnessed or had come upon it or anything, but it's totally gut-wrenching, and of course you feel it, but you have to do what you have to do, and you get it over with.
Let's go to Tara Bloom live. Tara?
Well, Devin, I'm at the field hospital where they had set up a triage unit in the storage building, but they're breaking it down now because there simply isn't anybody left to treat. Here is Robin Gibson. Give us an indication from the people that have gone in there what they have found.
They have found lots of rubble, rocks, and no survivors so far. They have heard a few voices underneath the rubble, but they have found no survivors.
Now, you were saying that they had actually counted the number of victims.
Right. They are tagging right now, and they were up to 30 last of what I heard.
30 people that they know didn't survive. Now, I heard that there was one person that they pulled out alive.
They did pull one person out a couple of hours ago, and that person was taken to the hospital. That's all we know.
So right now you've been told that this field hospital is really of no use anymore. Right. What have they told you?
There were two triage centers, one up closer to the building and one right over here in this corner. They are both being pretty much dispersed. We are keeping around 20 to 30 personnel around just in case. We're not for sure where the temporary morgue is going to be set up or anything of that nature. All out-of-town ambulances are going home, and pretty much I'm trying to disperse everybody to go.
Now we're going to go to Anthony Foster. You've just been talking to a couple of the nurses that actually went in with the search and rescue, hoping to find people they could treat. What did they say?
Well, and that's right, Tara. In fact, and the news is very discouraging. They were supposed to go in and be part of the unit that was supposed to go in and try to get survivors out. They could not find any. I talked with them for about 10 minutes. They told me that the destruction that we've seen just on video today is nothing compared to what they were able to see up close.
This isn't theatrical makeup. This is real blood this time. Yes.
You mentioned that what we've seen on TV compared to what you saw, what is there a comparison?
It's pretty graphic. It's pretty graphic. When you've seen like some of the big movies that came out with things blowing up, things on fire and all that, well, this is after the fire, the charred bodies, the devastation.
Tell me about the effort as you began to start seeing the dead and then start trying to, I guess, tag them or identify them.
Well, at this point, all the nurses have really gotten real disheartened because we went up with our adrenaline up, knowing our ER experience, to try to intervene the best way we could to save these lives, and there's no one to save. You know, there's 1 in 2 hours. That's not a real good body count. One life.
Can you describe in the best way that you can, the best way you can handle it, as far as the devastation to some of the bodies that you saw?
There's dismemberment, there's blood everywhere, people have been burned from the blast. It's really awful. It's really awful.
But again, you guys have been told, I guess, for now to stand down or stay back because there's really nothing you can do at this point.
All the nurses that have over 5 to 10 years ER experience and physicians have all been told that they can go home at this point, to go back to their own facilities, because there is nothing that can happen. We've also been told that the disaster team from Tulsa that is trained in picking up the bodies at this point and dealing with the evidence, that they will be taking over. So that pretty much tells me there's nothing else for the nurses to do.
Okay, Pam Burns and Nikki Smith, we thank both of you.
I'll tell you, right now we want to go back downtown to Jeff Lazalier, who's been down on the scene throughout the day, and he's been talking with people who've been involved with that rescue effort. Jeff.
Yeah, I want to introduce you to just one of the many people that have just come on their own, local heroes for those of us here in Oklahoma, Oklahomans helping Oklahomans. Justin Wagner is here with me, and he's from Stillwater, an EMT volunteer, just came down here as soon as he heard about it. What did you see?
Chaos. I saw people on the streets that devastation. I mean, I saw people walking around with literal cuts all over their face, but they were still helping others across streets and around. When I first got here, I brought my bag with me and set it on the ground, and other Oklahomans came by, even the ones that had cuts on their arms and their faces would pick up gloves and pads and go help somebody else. And I don't know, that's something to see.
You and your partner Shirley here, and I'm sorry, Shirley, I don't even know your last name.
Shirley Mosier.
Shirley's an RN from Oklahoma City. Used to be, yeah, just hanging out, but it's kind of like back in the old scene again today, I guess.
It's worse. I mean, I was in Lubbock when the tornado hit, and this was every bit
I mean, it took the building out there and it took this building out. It's just, it looked like people were shot with a glass from a shotgun, I guess is the best way to say it.
Now, you and Justin have been working here since early this morning, since right after it happened. Just showed up, volunteered, came in, have been helping people out. You're starting to have the signs that the adrenaline is wearing off, and you're looking awfully exhausted and drained. How are you feeling?
Like, you just can't believe it happened. You know, the kids is what kills you. And there was a lady in the basement that the water was raising, and they couldn't get the pumps going, and they thought she was going to drown before they got her out, and they finally got the pumps going. I mean, that's the whole day's been a crisis. Everything has been putting out a fire, putting out a fire, putting out a fire.
Justin, what image will you take home with you? If there's any one thing you can define, what is it that you will remember from this?
Devastation and teamwork. Teamwork is probably the biggest thing I'll ever remember from this. Yeah, whenever you look up and you see other Oklahomans that are hurt in the street, picking stuff up and helping other people across the street, you know that there's commitment there. You know that there's love and I don't know, feelings for other people. I was treating one person, and I had several people come up and ask me what I could do, what they could do, where we could go, and it's been like that all day. We've set up 3 triages today, and of course there's been threats, and so we've packed everything up and moved out. We feel kind of like a MASH unit today,
yeah,
but
I feel like an instant MASH unit.
But we're really wearing down.
This really has to be the worst terrorist attack in American history.
I'm just being told that these are workers who are waiting for something to do, and right now there really just isn't anything to do. I certainly have a feeling of hopelessness all of a sudden.
The bombing in Oklahoma City was an attack on innocent children and defenseless citizens. It was an act of cowardice, and it was evil. The United States will not tolerate it, and I will not allow the people of this country to be intimidated by evil cowards. I ask all Americans tonight to pray for the people who have lost their lives, to pray for the families and the friends of the dead and the wounded, pray for the people of Oklahoma City. May God's grace be with them. Meanwhile, we will be about our work.
Governor Keating with us once again on the phone. Governor, we spoke with you about 2.5 hours ago, just as you were starting to work and trying to put together some sort of federal and state response. Where do things stand now?
Well, we've done that. I've issued a disaster declaration. We have the Army and Air National Guard involved and cooperating and working with the Oklahoma City Police Department and the authorities. We have the Oklahoma Highway Patrol and the Department of Public Safety providing their emergency and crowd control services. This really has to be the worst terrorist attack in American history. I can't imagine anything more serious than this. A horrible, horrible day in Oklahoma in American history. And the people that did it are lousy predators. They are cowards for taking out innocent men, women, and children. It's just a tragic day for us. Everybody's in shock and disbelief. As I said, this has to be, and I'm thinking back over American history, this has to be the most violent, the most unprecedented terrorist act in American history. Right here in the middle of America, in the heartland of America, there's never been anything like this. Even in the worst days of the Cold War, the worst days of the agony in the Middle East, we've never had anything like this. And what a terrible, terrible tragedy.
Let's go back to David Payne, who joins us again live from the Family Assistance Center, where so many, as you can see, it just grows by the hour, David. Every time we talk to you, it seems there are more people gathering there.
That's right. There's probably another 30 to 40 people since we talked last time. Again, we are at the First Christian Church at Northwest 36 and Walker. This is not a place, again, to receive information. This is for you to come down here with a picture of a loved one or just a friend or just someone you just cared about that is missing, and they're going to try to take your information and they give it to the medical examiner's office, and that in turn makes the process of hooking you up with them a little bit faster. But again, it's a slow process. You can see people holding each other, hugging, And what's really sad about this is you'll see a father, a husband, come in with a picture of him and his wife and put it on a table, and he puts the picture with the form that goes back to the medical examiner's office. So again, it's really a sad day here. There's folks crying, hugging each other, and looking for comfort. And they found that here. There are priests here and a clergy, and there are counselors to help people that are dealing with this.
The line that still sticks in my head, the woman saying, we came down here to save people and now there's no one to save. I know that there is I certainly have a feeling of hopelessness all of a sudden. And that is certainly something that the firefighters and all of the hospital workers, everybody that is down there, is going to have to fight against now. As the devastating nature of all of this starts to become evident and more apparent to everybody. There is still so much work to be done. And that sense of helplessness and hopelessness, which is going to certainly overcome so many of us, is really going to be as big of an enemy as that big creaky old building now.
You're right. You're looking at a live picture of some of the rescue workers and others providing supplies down to the scene, trying to take care of those folks the best they can. And again, as Devin said, one of the most ominous things we heard from people looking for bodies was that they're being sent home, that there's not much left that can be done. We did hear earlier from fire department officials that they were hearing cries of help from people inside the building. We assume that is still happening, and they're going to do everything they can to find all those voices. So maybe we'll have some more survivors out of there, but the grim reality of it is we're afraid the death toll is going to go much higher.
Incarcerated him here in the Noble County Jail, and we've had him ever since.
He could have walked away on bail had the FBI not called.
That's correct.
It's 3 days after the bombing, and by an act of God, Timothy McVeigh is still in jail. Right now, authorities don't know that he is their main suspect.
He could have walked away on bail had the FBI not called.
That's correct.
To this day, investigators say if he had made bail, they may never have found him again.
How close was he to bonding out?
Trooper Hanger brought him in and incarcerated him here in the Noble County Jail, and we've had him ever since.
They later found McVeigh had survival gear hidden out in the desert near Kingman, Arizona. When he was pulled over and detained, the Army veteran was on his way there to hide out. Word soon got out McVeigh was a suspect in the bombing, and an angry crowd gathered outside the jail, waiting for his transfer. McVeigh was greeted by people yelling at him and chanting "baby killer." The sheriffs transporting him say they were nervous someone would start shooting. McVeigh wanted a helicopter to pick him up from the roof, but the FBI declined the request.
Was he nervous?
He was quiet.
Quiet?
Didn't say much.
McVeigh also requested a lawyer, but before he did, he made a big mistake with one simple sentence to the FBI. An agent asked McVeigh if he knew why they wanted to talk to him. His response? I guess it's got to do with that thing in Oklahoma City. McVeigh was taken to Tinker Air Force Base for arraignment, and he never leaves federal custody. He enjoyed only 77 minutes of freedom, the time between the bombing and his arrest.
Tim is ready to be executed. That was part of the decision when he made his waived his first round of appeals, because the existence that he has is not one that he likes. He spends 23 hours a day in a small cell and only 1 hour a day out. He knew that the continued appeals, with very limited success, would cause him to live in that environment another year, maybe 2 years.
Investigators also tied two of McVeigh's Army buddies to the bombing, 38-year-old Terry Nichols and Michael Fortier. Fortier quickly turned government witness for a reduced sentence. But critical evidence is found in Harrington, Kansas, inside Terry Nichols' garage. It's a sales receipt for 2,000 pounds of fertilizer purchased in a fake name with Timothy McVeigh's fingerprint on it. Investigators calling it what it is, a pretty damning piece of evidence. Nichols is charged with helping to build the bomb. The two main suspects are in custody, but now the big question, what was their motive? Agents linked the date of the bombing to the 2-year anniversary of the Branch Davidian fire in Waco, Texas, an event that killed 76 people. Investigators claim this is how McVeigh picked his target. He thought the people inside the Oklahoma City Federal Building were responsible for the fire.
This was clearly, from inception, a unique and major event. How it tied into McVeigh's perception of Waco, and that, linking those two things together was unusual.
Evidence shows extreme anti-government views fueled the attack. It was clear that one of McVeigh's main goals was to have a huge body count.
Should bombing suspect Timothy McVeigh's trial be moved out of Oklahoma? Can an impartial jury be found anywhere? Let's go to Bill, who's in Oklahoma City. Thank you for calling Super Talk 930, Bill.
On the jury, I question whether he can get a fair and equal trial in Oklahoma. I mean, there's lots of animosity and, a lot of people hurt.
I think that so many of us here in Oklahoma, if we did not lose anyone directly in this tragedy, we certainly know someone, and I think it's asking a lot of the people of Oklahoma City to try to give him a fair trial.
I think he'll be able to get a fair trial eventually. I think most people, and when they go through the process of selecting a jury, they'll be able to select those people that they feel like will be impartial. It'll be difficult, but by the time the trial comes around, I think people have enough time to do so.
Tragedy like this could have torn this city apart, but instead it has united you in a way that you've never been united before.
We feel very strongly that the reaction to this event, not only by Oklahoma City, but by the whole world, is something worth preserving, something we should realize that there is an awful lot of love in the world.
We've accepted it. We know there's nothing we can do to change it, so we're just trying to make the best of every day. I don't know if there is a normal, but we're at peace now.
We got around there was no building, no daycare center, no nothing. And I remember screaming. I left my babies in the building. And it dawned on me, an American did this. That's when the anger set in and the hurt, because I felt betrayed.
We know that what happened in Oklahoma is very frightening, and we want children to know that it's okay to be frightened by something as bad as this.
I also want you to know that there are many more good people in the world than bad and evil people. Just think of what we have seen in the last few days. Think of all the police officers and the firefighters, the doctors and the nurses, all of the neighbors and the rescue workers. all of the people who have come to help all of those who were hurt in Oklahoma.
Over the last 2 years, all the families and survivors, we've bonded and become almost like a family. We've helped each other through this. As we try to move forward, it's another brick wall that's behind us.
Tragedy like this could have torn this city apart, but instead it has united you in a way that you've never been united before.
That sadness will always be there. There will always be that emptiness because too many people are missing.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.